Paris's most famous museum, perhaps the most famous museum in the world. 4 thieves that were disguised as construction workers. They scooted themselves on a ladder right on up the side of the Louvre. They broke into the room where there was the crown jewels. They got away with $102 million worth of crown jewels. How did they get by the security camera? They guessed the password, which, ladies and gentlemen, was Louvre.
Louvre?
Before we get ourselves all looking down our noses at things,
Mhm.
there are a lot of mistakes that we make when it comes to our money, our savings, our planning, and retirement, besides using obvious passwords.
There's a handful. So one of the biggest mistakes is not identifying all the risks that are out there. So one of the first risks is that we think of risk like, well, what type of stocks or bonds do I buy? What's my ratio? My 60-40 portfolio? How much is in equities and so on? But sometimes the risk is more along the lines of like one thought process of money, one bucket of money. We really believe that a good system for retirement means I have purpose-driven money in different buckets. So the income that I need to feel comfortable in life, I don't believe it should come from just a giant bucket of all your money. I think it'd be great to segment some money off, put it into, dividend portfolio, preferred stock portfolio, into an annuity, something that gives you your income. So if out of my whole, $1 million, $2 million, whatever number it is, you take a portion of it, segment it off, and that accomplishes your retirement income goals combined with your Social Security or your pension. Now I know that my month-to-month needs are covered by a portion of my portfolio. Then the rest of the portfolio can go into more intentional things, creating tax-free income for the future, growth, maybe some discretionary spending or vacation money. You start to give it different purposes rather than saying I need the whole thing to do well so I can do well. If my income's covered really well, then I don't have to worry so much about it. And the rest of it has some more permission to go grow and get some returns for us. So I think that's one big mistake, is one bucket equals big risk. The next one is not an intentional income strategy. I kind of hit on it in the last one. When you take money and you segment it off, how and when I take money out of my accounts and the accounts where, like where do I pull from? That is another thing to know. What is the taxation on different types of accounts? Is there a timing risk of taking from certain types of accounts? It all comes together. When I have Social Security, what do I do if Social Security takes a hit? When I have my pension, what do I do if my pension has issues? Or maybe you don't have a pension, because most people don't anymore. And then finally, I'm using my investments to cover the shortage in my income need. And when I'm doing that, how is that invested? Is it invested a way where I don't have to worry about it? I have to keep an eye on it. So an income strategy says when, where, and how I pull money out. And it's what type of account, how does it taxed, how is it invested, and how do I make sure that it doesn't affect negatively if the market goes poorly? Okay. So that's an income strategy. And then number 3, I would say, is ignoring taxes and inflation. We talk about inflation and we're aware of inflation, but I think too many people come in and they under account for inflation and they don't account for taxes at all. They come in and they say, oh, what's inflation, 2 to 3%? And they pay no attention to what that means 20 years from now. What they do is they look at it for the next couple of years. So we have to account for inflation big time. The other one is taxes, because if you want $5,000 a month out of your investments to give you income and you only have pre-tax IRA money, you have to take out like $7,000 a month, withhold taxes, and then you get your $5,000. So it's a $7,000 withdrawal over a $5,000. You think, well, that's not that big of a deal. Well, in a year, right, that's an $84,000 withdrawal rather than a $60,000 withdrawal. So annually it's $24,000. That's right. A number that adds up over 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So, I mean, that's a $500,000 difference over a 20-year stretch. So we don't want to just like poo-poo on the, the taxes. No, you have to factor it in. You have to build a plan for it. And lastly, so this is kind of one that I see more often. I think it's changing over the years, but especially with the retiring generation, I think a big mistake is leaving one of the spouses in the dark. Not being aware, because when you deal with survivorship, when you deal with someone who passes and now someone else is left to manage the money or to manage the portfolio, and they don't even know the logins. They don't even know the passwords. Maybe they just type in Louvre, right, and see if they can get into the accounts. But
full circle, Mike.
Yes. So not knowing the passwords, not knowing the logins, not knowing where the life insurance money is, not knowing how to pay the bills. And again, it's not anything that's necessarily done maliciously, but a lot of times in life, we just segment duties in life. Yep. Kimberly, homeschools the kids, raises the kids, like takes care of them, cleans the house, keeps everything like she really makes it so I can just work and coach basketball, right? Like I love that. I think it's so much fun. If something happened to me, she would have a real hard time because we're not great at this. I'm like a self-admittance here. We are not great at like
Even Mike Douglas admits he needs to
yes,
do better about bringing Kimberly into the conversation. But
a
you guys are
hundred
different.
percent.
It's not like you've got 4 grown kids. Like you guys have 4 under the age of 16 kids. Like
Yeah.
you're doing okay.
Yes. And I do have people. I said, like, if something happens to me, call Dan or call Thomas
Right.
or call one of these people and they will help you through it all, you know? But at the same way, if something happened to her, I'd be looking at the kids saying, hey,
So
where's the vacuum? Right? Like,
you guys
like
know
basic stuff.
You guys know how to homeschool yourselves, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It'd be a lot. So I just think keeping one spouse in the dark is a mistake and something we all need to work on, making sure that we're both well informed, because those are real issues that come up when these things happen. So we always think that we have forever and that, we'll get to it at some point. But the reality is life hits. And if you look at this situation, simpler is not always safer. We need to have plans that are valuable, right? I mean, the thing about the Louvre is that it contains some of the most valuable things in the world.
Right.
Like that's some of the most valuable things in the world. There's all this stuff right now about the security cameras and when they're on and off, and how this one part of the Louvre doesn't have as advanced of a security system as the rest of the part. Like, what are we talking about? Like, I'm sure they're going to go back and say, maybe we shouldn't have skimped on that part of the Louvre.
Well, one would hope that somebody goes back and says, maybe we shouldn't have done this.
Yeah,
Maybe
like the post-mortem on this is going to be, hey, we should have spent the extra money, you know, because not only that's the embarrassment, right? The embarrassment of failure. And when we look at retirement, just to simplify it down is not always the best. It should be simple enough that you can understand it.
Right.
But it should be complex enough that it handles all the what ifs. Because there's a lot of what ifs that hit people in retirement. What if I need long-term care? What if, one of us dies early? One of us doesn't die, but they get really sick and we need high levels of care. What if Social Security gets cut by 20% or 25% like they're talking about in just about 6 or 7 years? What if, there's a lot of stuff. What if the stock market crashes, and not for 6 months, but for 3 years?
What if taxes go up?
What if taxes go up? There's a lot of stuff. What if they change the lifetime exemption on money? What if they change gifting rules? There's a lot of what ifs. And to say I have an IRA, I'm going to pull out 4%, I should be okay, does not cover all the what ifs. It does not cover the situations.
Yeah.
To say that, well, I've got beneficiaries on my documents does not cover how that surviving beneficiary manages money that they've never managed before in their lives. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. And I think that we really just need to understand the depth of a real financial plan. The complexity that can go into it. Again, simple enough that you understand it, but you need an estate plan. You need a tax strategy for the future. You need an income strategy. You need a diversification of investment strategy. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it. And unfortunately, oftentimes we're told, listen, just throw it in the S&P and take out 4% and you should be fine. That's true, but it doesn't help with the logistics of dealing with that money in the future. So I think there's a lot of conversations to be had that way.
Okay. Well, when it comes to conversations about simple things, simple, easy mistakes that so many people are making, and if you're concerned you might be making them, and you want to run through some thoughts, some plans, some ideas with somebody so that you can point out those holes in your plan, Mike and his team, they're here for you. MichigansRetirementCoach.com is our website and where you can go to begin the conversation. Do better than Louvre as your password.
Louvre.
Do better than the Louvre in this moment. As a fan of art, as somebody who studies art history, as somebody who loves Paris and France and the Louvre.
But also as a fan of super interesting crime stories.
Right.
Like, there was part of me.
I'm a fan of yours. I'm a fan of every part of this conversation today.
There's a part of me that for a little bit, I didn't want to go on long. I was rooting for the criminals. But just for a little bit, I was like, I'm like, man, like, this is crazy. Like, we were talking about what does it feel like to be in that moment? Like, oh, we just robbed the Louvre. And now what? Now it's just another Tuesday. Like, what do we do?
That's what, go back to the beginning part of the story. I had said former people, as of the recording of this podcast, former people had been arrested and that were involved. And you said 2 of them were women. And now you and I are going off with the Bonnie and Clyde.
Yes.
Like, the Daisy Beyonce song. It is in the back of my head.
It just keeps getting better and better.
Stay tuned. I'm sure that Tom Hanks and George Clooney are somewhere off producing up the idea. It will be the heist heard round the world. In the meantime, you can do better when it comes to protecting your money. So Mike and his team here to help you with that. Again, it's michigansretirementcoach.com. We also have links posted in the show notes. If you have further insight, if you find out breaking news about the heist, Mike and I would appreciate you also putting that in the comments section.
Just shoot a message.
We just want to know. Just keep us informed. Just let us know because we're over here doing this other stuff. So if you find out, we're here for it. It's michigansretirementcoach.com.